Hi all, welcome to my channel, welcome to my world. This is the world of Wayne. Today I'm going to be doing pack 2, which is basically stages 3 to 6 of the Fanhome release of Build the iconic Millennium Falcon.
To make 0.5 past light speed, it may not look like much, but you just got it where it counts, kid.
Look at me dressed for the occasion today. You're probably thinking, where's the Millennium Falcon? There it is. Check that out. I have to dress up for these builds. First off, with these builds, I thought we were actually building exactly what we built over there. And if I move the camera around, you can see the actual Falcon that I originally built. But there are subtle differences in this build. So I am interested to see this whole build because there are, as I said, differences. Especially when I was looking at some of the magazines. That they make reference to the post-3 films, The Force Awakens, Last Jedi and stuff, which are all in here. When this first came out, they weren't around, so it'd be interesting to see what changes there are actually in this build. So whereas I thought in the first video that we were building exactly the same model, we will have to see. Now if you want to get this for yourself, I have put a link down here in the video description, and there's also a QR code on the screen there that you can scan, and that will take you straight to the Fanhome website, and it will let them know that you've come from the World of Wayne website or World of Wayne YouTube channel. Now over here I've got all the parts that I'm going to need from the last pack that I'm going to need on this pack, because we are going to be starting to put some more plates onto the frame. We're doing a little bit more work in the cockpit as well. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So this is stage 3 here, and let's have a look through the magazine. So lots of things about the Star Wars franchise there. This is the cockpit area, and it looks like we're going to be adding on to that today by creating a door and putting the seats in there. As you can see, we've got a tiny little amount of details to put in, mainly the control arms, which are going to be fiddly. I'm going to need my magnifying glasses for them. So by the end of it, that cockpit is going to be looking just like that. And here is all the parts that we get in that pack. Let me open this. Now, if you remember in the last stage, we actually just put this on, but we didn't actually glue this in. I want to take this apart now, so I've got this back section just here. I'm also going to need this sticker, which comes in this stage, looking like that, and peel the backing off this. Now, this is the door area here. This sticker is going to go inside this channel just here, so get it in. Being very gentle, and I think what I'm going to do is use a cotton bud to help make that nice and flat so there's no bends in there at all. As you can see, that's in perfectly. I'm then going to be getting this door and pushing it into the bulkhead here. It should fit quite tight in here, so you're not going to need to glue this, but when it's in, again, that looks just like that. And then we can just take this whole section and put it to one side. Now you remember the control panel we put on here? That was only put in gently, so I can just remove that for a second because I need this base here. We're going to be putting the seats in now. So this is what the seats look like. These are the back seats, the white ones, and they're just going to go over these points just here. And again, they're very tight fit, so you don't have to glue them in. I suppose it's up to you if you want to, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to push them in like this. They slot in perfectly like that there. And we're going to do exactly the same with the pilot seats here. These look like that. And again, they're just going to be going over these points here. Just one there. And one here. Now, this is obviously going to be enclosed in a cockpit. So you're not going to be touching these. If there is a chance of touching them, then I would suggest gluing them into place. Now what we got here are actually metal parts. These are the metal control yokes. They're going to go in this way, and they're fitting into the holes just into the floor here. So I'm just going to see, they're quite tight in there. So again, I'm not going to glue them into place. Again, it's up to you if you want to. Make sure put them in the right way though. So they're going in that way there, and the same on this one. And make sure that they're perfectly straight as well. Looking good, isn't it? Okay. We've got some really fiddly details now. Now these are in this bag, so let's open them. And I have got my tweezers out for this, because what I'm going to do is put these into the holes either side of this control panel here. So let me get them in. one's going in that way. So they should be exactly like that. If you look on the top camera, that's the orientation they should be in. But these are loose, so I am going to put a drop of glue just on the end of these. Now the glue I'm using I get from my local range store. It's called Glue It, and I can apply it with a brush. So I am just going to put a little bit just onto the lug just at the bottom there. That'll be enough. And put this back in. So as you can see, that is now how that's looking. We can now put the back section back on to the platform there. So that's looking like that. And I can also put the console panel back on here. And that is the cockpit sorted. Now we do have a plate of armour from the ship's armour to go on. That's not done in this stage, but that's all there is to do in this stage. Okay, so this is stage 4. Let's look through this. This is the magazine. Again, more about Star Wars here. And as you can see, like I mentioned at the start, look, reference to The Force Awakens here. Very interesting. Okay, so we're going to be adding some parts to the cockpit here. And we've got some frames. So it looks like we're building onto the frame that we already had. And then we're going to be putting our first panels actually onto that frame. And the first thing we need is this cockpit back panel here. This is the cockpit here. It's going to go onto this section just here. And again, this is just a push in. So it goes this way round and slots into the back just like that there. That's completed that whole cockpit area. Obviously, we are going to be putting some details onto this. We'll do that probably in the next stage, actually. Put that to one side. Now, I'm bringing over the frame here. So I want to turn this upside down. And I've got this piece of frame in this stage, which I'm going to be adding to this one here. So it's actually going to go on here. Probably better on the top camera. So I can actually put this in place with 2 screws in these holes just here first. And these are the black screws. So I am going into metal. So I have dropped them in a little bit of oil. Just so I can get them nice and tight in there. You see that holds perfectly in there. I've also got a screw that I can put in over this side. Get that one in. And finally, I've got a screw that I can put in just here. Now, on this point just here, I've got another one of these square connecting brackets to go on. And this is basically going to go into the position just there. So let's get them in. And then all I want to do is take the last bit of frame here, turn this upside down, and this is just going to go into the center section, mirroring what we've got here. So this one's just going to go on this side over here, just like that. Once again, from the other side, it's held in with these black screws. So one in here. And I've got 2 to put in over this side here. So now that is what the frame is looking like. Now this is where we get to put our first bits of panel onto the frame. So this is the panel that we need first, looking like this. This is going to be going into the holes just on here like this here. So if I turn it upside down, you'll see it'll slip into each cavity of this, and we do want to make sure that they do go down into each hole. And each place that this is actually connected to the frame is going to be held in with these silver screws. So they're all in there. The last thing to do is just to put in this little adapter here, one of these cube adapters with 2 screws. And these are the black screws I'm putting in here, and that's how that should look when it's in place. And that is all there is to do in that stage. Now we do have another piece which will eventually go onto this, which looks just like that. That will eventually go there, but we don't actually install that in this stage, so I can just leave it like that. In stage 5 here is the magazine. Let's flick through and have a quick look what we've got. I love the blueprint sort of pictures here. Looking excellent. Okay, we're going to be, we've got the actual shell for the tunnel that actually leads to the cockpit here, and we've got the lights that we're going to be putting in as well. It looks like we're going to be fitting the instrument panel, so we are putting the lights just behind this section here and putting the sides of the control panel of the cockpit in place, looking just like that. We then get to put this, by the look of it, onto that tube panel there. So everything for stage 5 is in this bag, and I do believe this is the first electrics that we've got on this build, and this looks just like that here. These are all the lights with a plug here that are going to go behind this panel just here. So all I'm going to be doing is taking the holes in this section. You can see the lugs where this is going to fit. It's just going to fit over the top here. Now it's held in with this single silver screw that I've got in this bag. There's actually 2 in here. You do have 1 spare, which is for the best because that just went rolling off the workstation there. Let's get the other one. And I'll screw this into place. So that, on the top camera, is how that should look. Excellent. So now I'm going to be putting on these side panels here. They just go into the slots at the side. Now, on these ones, I have put a tiny bit of glue in them, just to enhance them and keep them into place. So again, it's up to you if you want to put glue on these. I am just putting a little bit of glue just on the tips of mine to stop these coming out. So they should look just like that when they're in. That looks excellent. Now in the magazine, if you want to enhance these, they are going to give you a guide on how to do that. If you look at this section just here, it says we will be providing information for modelers who want to enhance the appearance of these plates that we just put in by picking out some of the details in color. So it's always good to look at these yellow labels. It will tell you all about what we're doing. And the last thing they want us to do, I'll just show you on the back here, is just to kind of show you how this goes into the cockpit corridor, which is this section here. So what happens is, basically, this cockpit here will go into the channel that you can just see there. So I'll just give this a test fit. By no means am I installing this yet. And then this section will just go on top, kind of like that there. So the cockpit's going to be sitting in like that. Pretty good, isn't it? But I'm not going to put this together because they don't want us to do that yet. But that's all there is to do in that stage. So here is the last magazine for this pack. This is stage 6. So I'll just quickly flick through the magazine just so you can see that. Excellent. And we basically got some sprues, some details for the cockpit here, and we've actually got the actual main nose cone of the cockpit as well. But what we're going to be doing first is creating the nose cone section here, and then we're actually going to be detailing the roof and side panels for the cockpit over here, and then we're going to be putting some levers and control rods in for the control panel, which means cutting them off the sprue just like that. When they're in, it's going to look like that. So let's do this. So this was the sprue panel that I was talking about at the start. We don't actually use this in this stage, so we can keep that safely to one side. We've also got the surround for the holodeck board, which again we're not going to be using in this stage, so again that can go to one side. But I am going to be piecing together these 2 parts of the cockpit here. So these do have locating pegs on each side, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, and just push them so that they're flush on each side. Now to access the service lights, you don't actually want to glue these together, just so you know. But to hold it together, we've got this ring here. And you'll notice this ring has got these notches here and here. They're quite big. They're going to match the bigger notches on this section here and here. So just line them up, probably best on the top camera there. Line them up there. And this one in here. And then push this sheath just over the top. Perfect. And that's going to hold that into place. No problems at all. Excellent. Now to give you an idea of how this goes, I won't put the cockpit in here, but what we will do is just put these 2 sections together here. Again, this is kind of like a dry fit. And then this is going to be going on top of the end here. Now there is a locating lug just here, which we're going to be putting into the centre channel there. So when it's in, it should look just like that. Once that's done, we can just put the end on that's going to go here. And again, I'm not gluing this in at the moment. I just want to give you an idea of how this looks. And that's in place like that. So, looking pretty cool, isn't it? But again, nothing of this is glued. Just to give you an idea of how this is going to look. Let's put that to one side. And I've got this ring now, which is going to create the roof and side panels in the cockpit. If you look on the top camera, I want to lay them out just like this. And I want this way round, just so you can see. Take off the sticker from the back. And I'm going to line this up with a centre line just there. And put this into place, making sure it's bending around each section of this. So that's in. Do the same on the other side. And get that into place. So you should see clearly the bends in this going around. Okay. And then we're just going to be continuing on with this here by sticking these rib points in place. So one this side and one on the other side here. So it should look like that when it's done. Now we can put this whole thing to one side. So get your magnifying glasses ready now, because we're going to be putting some levers onto the cockpit area. Now these are going to be going into the holes that you can probably see on the close-up camera just here. So I'm going to clip all the levers off this sprue. There are 3 of them the same and one of them is just a straight one. Now what I'm going to do is actually take this section out because I haven't glued it into place. That's going to make it a lot easier to put these in. And it's just a case of putting them all into these holes. So I'm going to do that now. And I don't know if this is correct or not, but I put the 3 bent ones in the top and the straight one in the bottom, but that's how they look when they're all in position. I can now put this back on to the cockpit. They're pretty, I didn't actually glue them, they are pretty secure in there. Once again, I'm just putting the cockpit back on. That's going to lock that cockpit into place. But that is how that's looking. Pretty impressive, huh? The last thing they're asking us to do is we can test assemble how that section's going to be going. So what I'm going to do is just take this section off and just take this apart again. Because the way this is going, just like I showed you last time, this goes down into a slot here at the back. Perfect. And then this section here, you see the grooves on here are going to be going into the grooves just in front of this rear bulkhead. So this is going to be going in like this on both sides just there, as you can see. So now if I show you the inside, it's looking like that. If I try and put this back together again, just to give you an idea of how this is going to be, it is fun doing these dry fits just so you can see how everything's going to be. But that's looking pretty good, isn't it? And then if I once again just put the cockpit front on, and please remember I'm not gluing anything here. I'm just showing you how this goes. Let's line up that bottom piece there and get this part in. Just like that. And then I can put this front section on here just like that. And that's give you an idea of how that cockpit is going to look. But that is all there is to do in that stage. That's all there is to do in that pack. I enjoyed that. You know, I don't remember any of this, so it is like I'm building this for the first time. Remember, we do have some sprues and this bench sort of back section where the holographic table is going to go that we're not actually using in this stage. But looking pretty impressive, isn't it, at the moment? Now, if you want to get this for yourself, once again, I have put a link in the video description. There's also a QR code on the screen that you can scan and it will take you to the Fanhome website. But I really hope you like that video. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed already, please remember to subscribe. Other than that, take care.